Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today we're going to be talking about our series of words. I love this series, and I get excited when I get to just record these because they're so much fun to look back on and talk through. So, just a little context, I feel like I just started getting these words all of a sudden. And by words, I mean it comes to me usually in like a headline first, and then all this context comes in, and I could be somewhere, I could be like in the middle of a crowded room, or sometimes I'm just by myself, and it doesn't matter where I am, but I just know it and I start to write it because I know that there will be more to follow. And sometimes I get the whole word in one sitting, so to speak, and then sometimes it comes to me in pieces and over weeks, and then I just listen for, okay, like when am I supposed to share this word? And when I feel the green light, then I share it. And it's just been really cool for me. And I hope it encourages you all listening. So today we're going to talk about go back to where you started. That's the word. And if you want to see all of these words, you can look on our Instagram or our Facebook or LinkedIn. They're all there. So you can read through them. And I think I created a reel of all of them so far at one point too. So if you are wanting more and you're wanting to read through all of these, you can go there and check that out. This one is called Go Back to Where You Started. And I'm going to read it first and then talk through it. So when you feel lost or you can't remember why you started or what you're even doing here anyway, because who doesn't get to that place, go back to where you started. And this might be a pattern or a rhythm for you of getting back to where you started whenever you feel discouraged. So it's the place where you become you. Who have you always been? What has always been true about you? Write it down, draw it out, and use it as your fuel. That's the fire that propels you forward and illuminates your next steps. You can always go back to it when you forget. Some days you might have to go back every hour on the hour. Sometimes a year or two may pass by before you venture back to the starting place. Visions, dreams, businesses, nonprofits, teams, relationships, and all other kinds of things have started because someone recognized and lived out a part of their origin story. So this word brought me back to the word origin and made me think of the definition of origin. And it is the point at which something comes into existence or from which it is derived, right? So it can be ancestry, like if you think of, your family line, right? When and where it actually started, that could go back quite a bit. And when certain things, like if you're thinking of a family business, when that family business started, it's your origin story. If I think about StoryWork and where I first started, it started in my living room, gathering some people together and going through some of the curriculum that I would later create in the strategy masterclass and then later use in masterminds and strategic consulting. So everything has an origin story. And usually when you start something, whatever you're starting, like if I could think of the podcast or the book or consulting or masterminds or the e-courses that I've created, whenever you start it, it is the most pure. Like it's just in this place where it's just been built. You're super passionate about it. You're super excited because it's new. And when things are new, we usually have this clarity that we don't maintain all the way through the life cycle of the business or the movement or the nonprofit, whatever it is that we're creating. So what can happen is if you think of just like a straight road, if you think of the two lines in the middle that run down a road, what happens is if you picture yourself walking down those two lines, we can deviate and we go like this. We wind all the way around if you're not watching the video version of this. And so when we get off track, that can represent just distortion or lack of clarity or distraction or the wrong people in the wrong places, the right people in the wrong seats, all kinds of things, right? Anything that could happen that you can think of that would get you off course. And this applies to your life or your business. So even if you're thinking about parenting, right? If we're not constantly thinking about, okay, our origin story, when we first set out to be a parent, what are the things that we most hoped for our kids, or what are the things we most hoped for our family, or what are the ways that we most hoped that we would operate? And how have we deviated from that? Now, it's not to say that we don't change and evolve and grow in positive ways too. So of course we have to allow for that. But when you really think about getting lost, like losing your way and not knowing where you're going, losing your motivation, losing any kind of drive that you have, you lose your passion, it's time to go back to where you started. So this is a tool that you can use anywhere in any aspect of your business. So just go back to where you started and think about, why did I start this? What am I doing here anyway? What's always been true about this particular thing, and write it out, draw it out, and use that as your fuel. And I want to say this sentence again, because I think it's really important. That's the fire that propels you forward. Literal fire in you. That's the fire, the drive, the motivation, the purpose, right? You can't conjure that up. It has to come from somewhere, and it's connected to emotion. And this is how we use emotions as positive fuel in our lives and our work and businesses. So we can use that fire, and that will then create clarity that illuminates our next steps. And you might not have the whole plan, but at least you're going to have enough to say, okay, I can do 1 more hour. I can do 1 more minute. I can do 1 more day. I can do 1 more year, right? And so that's really what we're seeking. And some days, depending on how discouraged you are or what has happened, you might have to come back to what you wrote down, why you started, every hour on the hour. But sometimes it might take a year or 2 before you're going to come back to it. And you'll know when you need to, right? But this is a great thing, if you haven't, to just answer the question and just jot it down. Why did I start this? Like, why did I begin this? And of course, if you want to dive more into that, you can look at how have you changed along the course and what has been a benefit and what has been a detriment. And then you get to clear out the detriments. That's the great part about this, is that, you have a choice. You don't have to stay stuck. You can get unstuck. And it starts with going back to where you started, and visions and dreams and businesses and nonprofits and teams and relationships and all kinds of things. Think about this, have started because someone recognized and lived out a part of their origin story. So what is your origin story, and how can you live it out today? Thanks so much for listening. Hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a review because that really helps. And for more, head to storywork.co.